Last time, Chioma made a choice that could get her killed. She demanded to join the raid on the Quan compound, to walk into a war zone, to risk everything for a chance, just a chance of finding her brother. And Tae-yang, the ruthless mafia boss who'd kept her captive for her own protection? One word. If you're raiding their compound, I'm coming with you.
I'm coming with you.
Chioma's words hung in the air like smoke. Tae-yang stared at her, expression unreadable. Blood still tracking down his face from the cut above his eye. Absolutely not. His voice was ice. Final. The voice of a man who didn't negotiate. But Chioma wasn't backing down. Then I'll find my own way there. She stepped closer to him, even though her hands were shaking. You think your guards can stop me? I've spent 6 years getting into places I shouldn't be. Bribing people. Breaking rules. Chasing leads that could get me killed. I'm not stopping now. Taeyong's hands clenched into fists. You have no idea what you're asking. A raid isn't some adventure. It's violence, death, things you can't unsee. I've seen plenty I can't unsee. My parents' car after the accident. The empty bed where my brother should have been. The faces of men who tried to, she cut herself off. I'm not fragile. And I'm done being protected like I am. Silence stretched between them. Taeyong's expression was unreadable. Finally, he turned to Jae. Give us a minute. Jae nodded and left quickly, closing the door behind him. Taeyang walked to a cabinet, pulled out a first aid kit, and started cleaning the cut above his eye. His movements were stiff, controlled, angry. You don't understand what you're asking, he said without looking at her. Then explain it to me. If you come with us, you'll be a liability. I'll have to split my focus between the mission and keeping you alive. He pressed gauze against the wound, hissed slightly. That gets people killed. Then, teach me. Give me a weapon. Tell me how to stay out of the way. It's not that simple. Why? Chioma moved closer. Because you're scared something will happen to me? His hand stilled. He slowly lowered the gauze and turned to face her. Yes. The admission was quiet but fierce. Because 3 days ago you were a stranger, a mistake. Someone I was obligated to protect. His eyes burned into hers. Now you're something else. And I don't know when that happened or how to stop it. But the thought of you in danger, of you hurt because of my choices. He stopped, jaw working. Chioma's breath caught. The air between them felt charged, electric. What am I? She whispered. Taeyang stepped closer, close enough that she could smell gunpowder and his cologne, could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. You're the reason I played piano at 3 a.m. for the first time in 6 months. You're the person I think about when I should be thinking about territory and power. His voice dropped lower. You're the mistake that's becoming the only thing that feels right. Chioma's heart hammered against her ribs. Taeyang. But that's exactly why you can't come. He stepped back, breaking the moment. Because if something happened to you, if they touched you, hurt you, his hands clenched again, I'd burn the world down. And that's not strategy. That's weakness. Or maybe it's human. She closed the distance he'd created. You said I reminded you that being human still matters. So be human. Trust me. Let me help end this. By putting yourself in the line of fire? By taking control of my own life. She held his gaze. I'm tired of being saved. I'm tired of being protected. I'm tired of waiting for other people to fix my problems. For 6 years, I've been searching for Ibuka. This is the closest I've been. The Kwans might have information, records, something. Her voice cracked. I can't sit in a safe room while that chance slips away. Taeyang stared at her for a long moment. She watched him war with himself. Watched calculation fight against something softer. Finally, he exhaled slowly. You stay with me, at all times. You follow every order without question. You don't take risks. You don't play hero. His tone was iron. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Relief flooded through her. Understood. I mean it, Chioma. You do exactly what I say or I'll have you dragged back here. I will. I promise. He studied her face, searching for something. Then he moved to a closet, pulled out a black tactical vest. Put this on. It's bulletproof, but it won't save you from everything. He handed it to her, then pulled out a small handgun. Have you ever fired a weapon? No. Then this is for absolute emergencies only. Safety's here. Point and pull. Don't aim at anything you're not willing to destroy. He showed her the basics, his hands steady, and also professional. Keep it in this holster. Don't draw it unless you have no other choice. Chioma took the gun. It was heavier than she expected. Cold. Final. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me. If this goes wrong, you'll curse my name for letting you come. He turned away, started gathering equipment. We leave in 90 minutes. Jay will brief you on the plan. He walked toward the door. Taeyang? He stopped, but didn't turn around. For what it's worth, Chioma said softly. You're not what I expected either. His shoulders tensed. Then he left without responding. Chioma stood alone in the office, holding a gun and wearing body armor, wondering what the hell she'd just gotten herself into. But underneath the fear, underneath the adrenaline, was something else. Hope. Fragile and terrifying, but real. Tonight might end in blood and violence, but it might also bring her one step closer to Ibuka, and for that chance, she'd walk into hell itself. The convoy left the compound at exactly 11:47 p.m. 5 black vehicles, heavily armored, filled with men who looked like they'd walked out of an action movie. Tactical gear, assault rifles, faces set in grim determination. Chioma sat in the second vehicle between Taeyang and Jay. Her vest felt too tight. The gun at her hip felt too heavy. Every breath tasted like fear and gasoline. The Kwan compound is in the industrial district, Jay explained, showing her a tablet with blueprints. Warehouse complex on the outside, luxury residence in the center, 3 entry points. We're hitting all of them simultaneously. What's the objective? Chioma asked. Capture Kwon Dong-min, the family head. Force him to call off the hunt for you and reveal Ji-won's location. Taeyang's voice was cold, focused. Secondary objective is gathering intelligence on their operations, trafficking routes, financial records, everything. And if he doesn't cooperate? Taeyang looked at. His eyes were empty of mercy. Everyone cooperates eventually. The violence in that statement should have terrified her. Maybe it would have, a week ago. Now it just felt like the truth. They drove through Busan streets in tense silence. The city lights blurred past. Normal people living normal lives, completely unaware that a war was happening in their shadows. Chioma's phone buzzed in her pocket. She'd gotten it back yesterday, though Taeyang's people had wiped everything and restricted all outside communication. She pulled it out. A message from Hana. Stay safe. Come back. Simple. Direct. But the kindness in it made Chioma's throat tight. She typed back, I will. 2 minutes out, the driver announced. Taeyang turned to Chioma. Last chance. I can have someone take you back. I'm not leaving. Stubborn. You noticed. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Then his expression hardened as they turned into the industrial district. The Kwan compound rose ahead of them, exactly as Jay described, warehouse shells surrounding a central building that looked more like a mansion than a crime headquarters. Security lights flooded the perimeter, guards visible on the rooftops. They're expecting retaliation, Jay muttered. They're ready. Good, Taeyang said. So are we. The vehicles split up, each heading to a different entry point. Theirs continued toward the main gate. Alpha, team, position, Taeyang spoke into his radio. In position, east entrance secured. Beta team, in position, west entrance secured. On my mark. Taeyang pulled his own weapon, checked the magazine. 3, 2, 1. Execute. Everything happened at once. Explosions at all 3 entry points. Not enough to bring down the buildings, but enough to breach the walls. Smoke and debris. Alarms screaming. Men pouring through the holes. Chioma's vehicle rammed straight through the main gate. Metal shrieked and crumpled. They were inside. "Stay close," Taeyang ordered, pulling her out of the vehicle. Chaos erupted around them. Gunfire, shouting. Taeyang's men moved like a trained unit, taking cover behind vehicles and equipment. The Quan guards fired back from elevated positions. Taeyang kept Chioma behind him, his body a shield between her and the violence. They moved forward in controlled bursts, advancing through the compound. A guard appeared from behind a container. Taeyang shot him twice without hesitation. The man dropped. Chioma's stomach churned, but she kept moving. They reached the central building. Taeyang's men had already breached the entrance. Bodies lay in the doorway both sides. She couldn't tell who was who. Inside, the building was sterile. White walls, fluorescent lighting. It looked more like an office than a crime headquarters. "Jay, find their server room. Get everything," Taeyang ordered. "On it." Jay split off with 3 men. Taeyang led Chioma and 6 others deeper into the building. They cleared rooms methodically. An office, a break room, storage closet. Then they found the stairs going down. "Basement level," one of the men reported. "That's where Kwon Dong-min will be. Underground office." They descended. The stairs opened into a corridor with reinforced doors on either side. The walls here were concrete, soundproofed. Chioma's instincts screamed. Something was wrong about this level. It felt too secure, too hidden. "Taeyang," she whispered. "What if it's not just an office down here?" He glanced at her. "What do you mean? You said they traffic people. Where would they keep them? While they're processing them through the ports." Realization crossed his face. He turned to his men. "Check every door. If any are locked, breach them." They moved down the corridor. Most doors opened easily. Empty rooms, storage, nothing interesting. Then they reached a door that didn't open. Heavy steel, electronic lock. One of the men pulled out a device, attached it to the lock. It beeped and clicked. The door swung open. The smell hit first. Sweat. Fear. Unwashed bodies in close quarters. Then Chioma saw them. Cages. Metal cages lining the walls. And inside them, people. Children. Teenagers. Adults. Maybe 20 in total. They stared at the armed men with wide, terrified eyes. "Dear God," one of Taeyang's men breathed. Chioma pushed past Taeyang into the room. Her eyes scanned faces desperately, looking, searching. A girl, maybe 8. A teenage boy with a broken arm. 2 women huddled together. More children in the back. And then she saw him. Back corner. Alone in a small cage. 16 years old now, taller than she remembered, but she'd know that face anywhere. "Ibuka," she whispered. The boy looked up. Confusion first. Then recognition. Then disbelief. "Chi?" His voice was hoarse, broken. "Chioma?" She ran to his cage, dropped to her knees. Her hands grabbed the bars. "Oh God! Oh God! Ibuka! You're alive! You're here! I found you!" Tears streamed down her face. She couldn't stop them. Ibuka's hands covered hers through the bars. He was crying too. "You came," he said. "I didn't think I thought you'd forgotten. Never. Never. I've been searching for 6 years. I never stopped." She looked up at Taeyang. "Get them out. Get him out, please." Taeyang was already moving. "Break every lock. Get these people out now." His men spread through the room with bolt cutters. The lock snapped. Cage doors swung open. Ibuka's cage opened. Chioma pulled him out, wrapped him in her arms. He was so thin, so broken, but alive, breathing, real. "I've got you," she sobbed into his shoulder. "I've got you. You're safe now." Behind them, Taeyang was on his radio. "We need medical teams at the compound. Multiple civilians, various states of injury. And get buses here. We're evacuating everyone." "Sir, we haven't found Kwon Dong-min yet," one of his men reported. "I don't care. These people come first. Taeyang's voice was hard. Get them out. Now. Chioma looked up at him. Through tears. The ruthless crime lord who'd kidnapped her a week ago was currently directing a rescue operation for trafficking victims, ordering his men to prioritize civilians over catching his enemy. He met her eyes. Something passed between them. Understanding. Respect. Something deeper she didn't have words for. Thank you, she mouthed. He nodded once. Then an explosion rocked the building. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Dust rained from the ceiling. They're blowing the exits, someone shouted through the radio. They're trying to trap us inside. Taeyang cursed. Everyone upstairs, now. Get these people out through any exit still standing. Chaos erupted. Taeyang's men started herding the created, former prisoners toward the stairs. Chioma kept Ibuka close, one arm around him, the other hand on the gun at her hip. They reached the stairs, started climbing. Behind them, more explosions. The building was coming down. They burst into the main level. Half the ceiling had collapsed. Fire spread through one wing. The way they'd come in was blocked by debris. This way! One of Taeyang's men found a side exit. They ran. Chioma pulled Ibuka forward. He stumbled, his legs weak from captivity, but she held him up. They burst outside into smoke and chaos. The compound was a war zone. Both sides taking casualties. But Taeyang's forces were pulling back now, prioritizing evacuation over engagement. They ran toward the vehicles. Taeyang stayed at Chioma's back, providing cover. Bullets pinged off metal around them. They reached a van. Taeyang shoved them both inside. Go! Get them out of here! The driver hit the gas. They peeled out of the compound as another explosion lit up the night behind them. Chioma held Ibuka tight, both of them shaking. Around them in the van were other rescued victims, a woman clutching 2 children, a teenage girl with empty eyes, an elderly man who kept muttering in a language Chioma didn't recognize. Is it real? Ibuka whispered against her shoulder. Are you really here? I'm here. I'm real. And you're never going back. She kissed his forehead. Never. I promise. They drove through Busan's streets. Behind them, smoke rose from the industrial district. Sirens wailed in the distance. Chioma's phone buzzed. A text from Taeyang. You both safe? She typed back with shaking hands. Yes. Thank you. For everything. His response came immediately. See you back at the compound. We need to talk. The van pulled up to the Yoon compound 40 minutes later. Medical teams were already set up in the courtyard. Apparently, Taeyang kept a full medical facility on site. The rescued victims were taken immediately for examination and treatment. Chioma refused to let go of Ibuka until a doctor gently explained that he needed x-rays, fluids, a full examination, that he'd be right down the hall, that she could see him in an hour. She finally, reluctantly, let him go. Hana appeared with warm tea and a blanket. You're in shock. Come sit. Chioma let herself be led to a quiet room. She sat, drank the tea. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She found him. After 6 years, she actually found him. The door opened. Taeyang entered, looking exhausted and blood-stained, but uninjured. He sat heavily in the chair across from her. 16 civilians recovered, he said. All are receiving medical care. We've contacted the appropriate authorities, ones I trust, to start the process of getting them home. And Ibuka? The doctors say he's malnourished and has some old injuries that healed wrong, but nothing life-threatening. He'll recover. Taeyang leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Chioma, I need to tell you something. Her stomach tightened at his tone. What? We found Kwon Dong-min. Jae's team cornered him in a secure room. He paused. Before we could extract him, he triggered a dead man's switch, destroyed his entire server room. All records, all files, everything that could implicate him or reveal his operations. So the trafficking routes, gone. And then he killed himself rather than be captured. Chioma stared at him. What about Ji-won? The threat against me? Also gone. Without Kwon Min, without their files, without their organization intact, the Kwons are finished. They can't come after you because they barely exist anymore. His expression was grim, but it means we'll never know the full extent of their operations. How many victims? How many are still out there? The weight of that settled over the room. But Ibuka, Chioma said. I got Ibuka back. You did. Because of you. She met his eyes. You let me come. You prioritized the rescue over the mission. You gave me my brother back. I did what was right. No. You did what was human. She set down her tea, hands finally steady. And it cost you, didn't we? The Kwons are gone, but you lost the chance to interrogate their leader, to get intelligence, to solidify your position. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. My father called while we were en route back. He heard what happened, that I chose saving civilians over capturing our enemy. His jaw tightened. He's not pleased. What does that mean? It means I weakened our family's position for people who weren't our responsibility. It means I showed mercy when the underworld respects only strength. He stood, walked to the window. It means I might have just destroyed everything my father built. Chioma stood too, moved to stand beside him. Or maybe you just became something better than what he built. He looked farther, at her, really looked at her, and his expression was so raw, so vulnerable, that her breath caught. You're free to go now, he said quietly. The threat is eliminated. You and Ibuka can leave whenever you're ready. I'll provide money, documentation, whatever you need to start over. And if I don't want to go? Chioma, you said I became something else to you. She turned to face him fully. Well, you became something to me too. Somewhere between the kidnapping and the piano and tonight, she stopped, searching for words. I don't have a name for it yet, but I know I'm not ready to walk away. You should. This life, my life, it's violence and danger. Tonight proved that. Tonight proved that you're more than what you do, more than your father's legacy. She reached up, touched his face gently. He froze under her hand. You're a man who plays piano at 3 a.m, who saves people his enemies have trapped, who keeps his promises. I kidnapped, and then you gave me my brother back. Her thumb brushed across his cheekbone. I'm not saying I forgive everything. I'm not saying this isn't complicated. But I'm saying I want to stay, at least for now, at least long enough to figure out what this is. Taeyang's hand came up to cover hers. It's dangerous. I know. My father will make your life difficult. I've survived worse. Chioma, do you want me to stay? She asked directly. His eyes closed. More than I should. More than is wise. Then let me stay. He pulled her hand down but didn't let go. His fingers laced through hers. 1 month, he said. Stay 1 month while Ibuka recovers. While we make sure there are no residual threats. While we figure out next steps. He opened his eyes. And if after 1 month you still want this, want me, this life, all of it, then we'll talk about what that means. 1 month, she agreed. They stood there by the window, hands clasped, watching the sunrise paint Busan's skyline in gold and pink. A week ago, Chioma thought she had nothing left to lose. Now she had her brother back. And she had this unexpected, complicated, dangerous thing with a man who'd started as her captor and become something she couldn't name. The compound's intercom crackled. Mr. Yoon, the young Mr. Okafor, is asking for his sister. Taeyang released her hand. Go. Be with him. I'll handle the cleanup here. Chioma started toward the door, then stopped. Taeyang? Yes? Thank you. For everything. For tonight. For him. For, she gestured between them, for this, whatever this is. His expression softened. It's a beginning. That's enough for now. She smiled and left to find her brother. 3 weeks later, Chioma stood in the compound's garden, watching Ibuka laugh at something Jay was showing him on a tablet. Her brother had gained weight. The shadows under his eyes were fading. He smiled more each day. The doctors said he'd make a full recovery. Physical and psychological treatment would take time, but he was strong. He'd survive. They both would. You're staring again. Taeyong's voice came from behind her. She turned. He wore casual clothes today, jeans and a black shirt, no suit. His father had come to the compound twice in the past 3 weeks. Both visits ended in shouting matches. But Taeyong stood firm each time. He chose humanity over empire. Even if it cost him. I'm allowed to stare, Chioma said. I spent 6 years imagining what it would be like to see him alive. Now I can't stop looking. Taeyong moved to stand beside her, close enough that their arms almost touched. He's doing well. Jay says he's interested in learning about computer systems. Could be a useful skill. You're not recruiting my 16-year-old brother into your organization. I'm offering him options. There's a difference. She shook her head, but she was smiling. You're impossible. You knew that when you decided to stay. She had stayed. All 3 weeks. Moving from the guest quarters into, well, she wasn't sure what to call it. They hadn't kissed, hadn't crossed that final line, but they spent hours together, talking, sharing silence, building something. 1 week left, Taeyong said quietly. In your trial month. I know. Have you decided if you're staying? Chioma watched Ibuka laugh again, watched the sun shine through cherry blossom trees, felt Taeyong's solid presence beside her. I think she started, then stopped, as chaos erupted across the garden. Armed men pouring through the gates. Not Taeyong's men. These wore different colors, moved with different purpose. Taeyong immediately pushed Chioma behind him. Get Ibuka and get inside. Now. What's happening? My father. His voice was grim. He's making his move. An older man emerged from the group of armed guards, tall, distinguished, cold eyes that were an older version of Taeyong's. Yoon Sang-ho, the patriarch. Stand down, he commanded, and it wasn't directed at his own men. It was directed at Taeyong. Father, what are you doing? What I should have done weeks ago. Taking back control of this family before your weakness destroys everything I built. Sang-ho's eyes flicked to Chioma. Remove her and the boy from the compound. Immediately. No. Taeyang stepped forward. I won't let you. You won't let me? Sang-ho's laugh was bitter. You lost that authority when you chose a stranger over our family's future. When you weakened our position for sentiment, Taeyang's men appeared from various points in the compound, weapons drawn. They formed a line between Sang-ho's forces and their young boss. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Stand down, Sang-ho repeated, this time to all of them. I'm still the head of this family. You follow my orders. Nobody moved. The men looked at Taeyang, waiting. Sang-ho's expression darkened. So, it's come to this. Mutiny. It's not mutiny. Taeyang's voice carried across the garden. It's evolution. You built an empire on fear and violence, and it worked. For your generation. But the world is changing. We can be more than just monsters. Sentiment will get you killed. Humanity will keep me alive. Taeyong gestured to his men. Every person here has chosen to stand with me. Not because they fear me, because they believe in what I'm building. And what is that? A crime family that rescues strangers? That weakens itself for good press? A family that doesn't traffic children, that doesn't profit from misery, that still operates outside the law but with some measure of conscience. Taeyong's hands clenched. You taught me to be ruthless, but you forgot to teach me what to be ruthless for. Silence stretched across the garden. Sang-ho studied his son for a long moment. Then he laughed short, sharp, humorless. You really believe that? I do. Then you're a fool. Sang-ho turned to his men. We're leaving, but know this. Taeyong, you've made your choice. You're choosing her over your family, your legacy, everything. I'm choosing who I want to be over who you made me. Sang-ho's jaw tightened. For a moment, Chioma thought she saw something like pain in his eyes, but it vanished quickly. Then you're no longer my son. Consider yourself disowned. The Yoon family name is no longer yours to use. The words hung in the air like smoke. Taeyang stood perfectly still. I understand. Do you? Sang-ho took a step forward. You'll lose your territory, your alliances, your protection. Other families will see you as weak, as vulnerable. They'll come for you. Let them try. Sang-ho shook his head. You'll regret this. Maybe. But at least I'll regret my own choices, not yours. For a long moment, father and son stared at each other across the garden. Years of history, of complicated love and resentment hanging between them. Finally, Sang-ho turned and walked away. His men followed. When they were gone, when the compound gates closed behind them, Taeyang's shoulders sagged slightly. The only sign of the cost of what just happened. Chioma moved to his side. Taeyang, I need a minute. His voice was rough. I know what I did. He looked at her, and his eyes were fierce. I chose you. I chose this. I chose becoming something better than what I was raised to be. His hand found hers, and I don't regret it, but I need a minute to feel what I just lost. Chioma squeezed his hand. I'll be inside when you're ready. She started to walk away. Chioma? He stopped her. The month is up in a week, and I just lost everything trying to be worthy of you. So I need to know. Yes. She turned back. The answer is yes. I'm staying. We're staying. Something cracked in his expression. Relief and pain and hope all mixed together. Why? Because you just gave up an empire for the chance to be better. Because you saved my brother when you could have captured your enemy. Because you play piano at 3 a.m. and pretend it doesn't mean anything. She moved back to him, reached up to touch his face. Because somewhere between the kidnapping and now, I fell for the man under the monster. And I want to see who you become next. Taeyang pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her. She felt him shaking slightly. I don't know what comes next, he said against her hair. I don't know how we survive this. We figure it out. Together. She pulled back to look at him. You're not alone in this, Taeyang. You have me. You have Ibuka. You have all those men who just chose you over your father. We build something new. Something better. Something yours. He kissed her then. Finally. A kiss that tasted like desperation and hope and new beginnings. Chioma kissed him back, pouring every complicated feeling of the past month into it. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Taeyang rested his forehead against hers. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're trying to. That's enough. Across the garden, Ibuka was watching them with wide eyes. Jay had a hand on his shoulder, explaining something in low tones. Chioma waved at her brother. He waved back. Uncertain, but trusting. He's going to have questions, Taeyang said. Let him. We'll answer them honestly. About how his sister fell for the man who kidnapped her. About how his sister found him because of the man who chose saving lives over winning wars. She squeezed his hand. It's about perspective. Taeyang's laugh was soft, surprised. You're remarkable, you know that? I'm surviving, same as you. No. He turned her to face him fully. You're thriving, despite everything. And you're making me want to thrive too. 3 months later, Chioma stood on the subway platform where it all began. The same platform where Taeyang's men had grabbed her. Where her life had tilted sideways into something she never could have imagined. Beside her, Taeyang held a bag from the night market. Inside was a phone case, the same kind she'd been looking at the night she was kidnapped. You remembered, she said. I remember everything about that night. He handed her the bag. You never got to buy it. She laughed, pulled out the cheap plastic case decorated with cartoon cats. This is the most ridiculous gift you've ever given me. I've given you diamonds, and I like the phone case more. You're strange. You love it. He smiled. I do. They walked through the night market together. Ibuka was back at the compound with Jay, learning coding. He decided he wanted to help dismantle trafficking networks through technology, turn his hold, trauma into purpose. The past 3 months had been hard. Taeyang lost half his territory. Multiple families tried to move against him, but he held firm, rebuilt with the men loyal to him, created something smaller but stronger. They didn't traffic people, didn't deal in the worst humanity had to offer. It made them less profitable, but they slept better. Well, sometimes they slept better. I have something for you too, Chioma said, stopping at a quiet corner of the market. Oh? She pulled out her phone, showed him a video. In it, she was dancing, contemporary style, moving through the compound's garden like water made flesh. It was the first time she danced in 6 years. Taeyang watched in silence. When it ended, his eyes were suspiciously bright. You're dancing again. You're playing piano again, she said softly. I thought it was time I did the same. He pulled her close right there in the middle of the market. People flowing around them like a river around stones. I love you, he said. Simple, direct. No poetry, no flourish. Just truth. Chioma's breath caught. They'd been building toward this for months, but hearing the words made them real. I love you too, she said. Even though you kidnapped me. Especially because I kidnapped you? Don't push it, he laughed against her hair. Fair enough. They walked back through the market, hands intertwined. The smell of grilled squid and sweet haddock wrapped around them. The same smells from the night everything changed. Do you ever regret it? Taeyang asked quietly. Staying? Choosing this life? Chioma thought about it. Really thought about it. 3 months ago, she'd been alone, searching endlessly for a brother she might never find, working dead-end jobs, surviving but not living. Now she had Ibuka back. She had Taeyang. She had purpose beyond just survival. She was dancing again, building something that felt like hope. No, she said finally. I don't regret it. This isn't the life I would have chosen, but it's the life that chose me, and I'm making it mine. Even the hard parts, especially the hard parts, they're what make the good parts matter. They reached Taeyang's car. Before he could open the door, his phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. What is it? Jay. He found something in the Kwan family's recovered data. Information about another trafficking ring. Bigger than the Kwans. Operating across 4 countries. Chioma felt her pulse quicken. How many victims? Unknown. But potentially hundreds. He looked at her. We have actionable intelligence. Entry points. Locations. If we move quickly, we could save them. She finished his sentence. It's not our fight. We're barely holding our own territory together. But it could be our fight. Chioma's mind raced. You have the resources, the contacts, the will to do something other families won't. Chioma, this would be dangerous. Bigger than the Kwan raid. We'd be making enemies of very powerful people. Good. They should have enemies. She met his eyes. You said you wanted to build something better. This is what better looks like. Not just refusing to profit from misery, but actively fighting against it. Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. She watched him war with himself, the practical crime lord versus the man trying to be more than his father's legacy. If we do this, he said finally, there's no going back. We'd be committing to something bigger than territory disputes. We'd be painting a target on ourselves for every organization that profits from this. I know. You could die. Ibuka could be in danger. Everyone we care about becomes a target. I know that too. She stepped closer. But if we don't do something, how many Ibukas stay lost? How many families keep searching? How many victims die in cages while we play it safe? You're asking me to risk everything. I'm asking you to choose who you are. Her hand found his. Are you Yoon Sang-ho's son, protecting your empire? Or are you Yoon Taeyang, building something worth protecting? He stared at her. Then, slowly, he smiled. It was fierce and determined, and a little bit reckless. Call Jay, he said. Tell him to prepare a full briefing. And contact our allies, the ones who might actually give a damn about doing the right thing. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. He opened the car door for her. Because you're right. This is what better looks like. Even if it kills us. Let's hope it doesn't. Where's the fun in that? Chioma laughed as she got in the car. You're insane. You love it. Unfortunately, I really do. 6 months later, the operation was bigger than anything Taeyang's organization had attempted before. 4 countries, 7 simultaneous raids, coordination with law enforcement in 3 jurisdictions, ones they could trust, at least. It took months of planning, of building alliances with other families who were tired of the brutality, of risking everything on the hope that they could make a difference. The raids happened on a Tuesday night. Chioma wasn't there for this one. She and Ibuka were in Seoul, meeting with an organization that helped trafficking survivors reintegrate into society, learning, building connections, preparing for the aftermath. She watched the news reports from a hotel room, reports of massive raids across Asia, hundreds of victims freed, dozens of traffickers arrested, and in small text at the bottom, sources say the operation was led by reformed criminal organizations in cooperation with international law enforcement. Her phone rang. Taeyang. Tell me you're okay, she said immediately, bruised, exhausted. But okay. His voice was rough with fatigue. We got them out, Chioma. All of them. 237 people who are free. Tonight, because we tried. Tears streamed down her face. You did it. We did it. This was your idea. It was your courage. It was us. He was quiet for a moment. I'm coming to Seoul. I need to see you. When? Now. I'm already in the car. He stopped. I just need you. I'll be here. Always. 3 hours later, Taeyang arrived at her hotel room. He looked exactly like she expected, exhausted, blood on his shirt, bruises forming on his face, but his eyes were bright, alive. Chioma pulled him inside, wrapped her arms around him. He held her like she was the only thing keeping him standing. We lost 3 men, he said against her shoulder. Good men. And we've made enemies of some very dangerous people. I know. My father called. He said, I'm a fool. That I've destroyed any chance of rebuilding what he built. What did you tell him? That he's right. I'll never rebuild his empire. Taeyang pulled back to look at her. I'm building mine, and it's better. Chioma smiled through tears. It is better. I bought you something. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Her breath caught. It's not what you think, he said quickly. I mean, it is, but it's also not. I'm explaining this badly. She laughed. Just show me. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, but not an engagement ring. Something simpler. A silver band with an inscription in Korean. What does it say? Even the darkest night ends. It's from my mother's song, the one I played for you. His hands were shaking slightly. I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. Not until we're sure we'll survive what's coming. But I'm asking you to be my partner in everything. The business, the raids, the rebuilding, all of it. Partners, she repeated. Equals, making decisions together, building this together. He took the ring from the box. I know I kidnapped you. I know this started all wrong. But I'm now asking if we can make it right. If you'll choose this life, this fight, me not because you're trapped, but because you want it. Chioma held out her hand. Put it on. Is that a yes? That's a yes to everything. Partners, equals, building something that matters. She watched him slide the ring onto her finger. And when this is over, when we've done what we can, when we're ready, ask me the other question too. The marriage one? That one. His smile was brilliant. I'll ask you on that subway platform, where it all started. That's terrible and romantic and perfect. I contain multitudes. She kissed him then, tasting exhaustion and hope and tomorrow. When they broke apart, she rested her forehead against his. We're really doing this, she said. fighting trafficking rings, making enemies of powerful people, probably getting ourselves killed. Probably. I must be crazy. You definitely are. He pulled her closer. But so am I. And at least we'll be crazy together. 1 year later, Chioma stood on the subway platform again. The same one where Taeyang's men had grabbed her, where her life had split in two before and after. Beside her, Ibuka was talking animatedly about his computer program, something that used algorithms to track trafficking patterns. He'd turned his trauma into a weapon against the people who'd taken him. He was 17 now, taller, stronger, still healing but thriving. Taeyang arrived exactly at midnight. He wore a suit but looked less like a crime lord and more like a businessman these days. They'd gone almost legitimate, keeping just enough illegal operations to maintain respect in the underworld, but most of their work now was clean. The trafficking interventions continued. They'd freed over 600 people in the past year. Made headlines. Made enemies. Made a difference. Ready? He asked Chioma. She knew what he was asking. They'd planned this for weeks. Ready. He got down on one knee right there on the platform, pulled out a ring this time, definitely an engagement ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Chioma Amarachi Okafor. You were in the wrong place at the right time. I made the worst mistake of my life and somehow found the best thing that ever happened to me. His voice was steady, sure. I'm asking you, here where it started, to make it permanent. Marry me. Build this life with me. Be my partner in everything. Tears streamed down her face. Yes. Obviously yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, stood and kissed her while Ibuka cheered, and the few late-night commuters applauded. I love you, Taeyang said against her lips. I love you too, even though you kidnapped me. Never letting that go, are you? Never. Fair enough. They walked out of the station together, Chioma, Taeyang, and Ibuka. A family built from chaos and choice. From the worst circumstances becoming something beautiful. The city lights glittered around them. Somewhere in those streets were people they'd saved. People who'd gotten second chances because they'd tried. It wasn't a perfect ending. They still had enemies. Still faced danger. Still fought battles most people didn't know existed. But they fought them together, and that made all the difference. 2 years after that, the compound had changed. It looked less like a fortress and more like a home. Gardens where Ibuka studied coding under cherry blossom trees. A studio where Chioma danced and taught dance therapy to trafficking survivors. A music room where Taeyang played piano most mornings. The business had evolved too. Mostly legitimate now, but with enough connections to keep making their raids possible. They'd freed over 1,000 people, built safe houses in 3 countries, created a network of reformed criminals and law enforcement working together. Taeyang's father never spoke to him again, but his mother's family who'd been kept away for years reached out, rebuilt bridges, gave him something closer to peace. And on a warm spring morning, Chioma stood in the compound's garden wearing white, not a traditional wedding dress, something simpler that let her move freely. Because after the ceremony, there would be dancing. Ibuka walked her down the aisle, 17 years old and strong. He'd testified against 3 trafficking rings, started a nonprofit, began university, lived. Taeyang stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored suit, watching her approach with eyes that said everything words couldn't. The ceremony was small. Jay was there. Hana, the men who'd stood by them through everything. Some of the survivors they'd rescued. Family built by choice, not blood. When they said their vows, Chioma promised to be his partner in building something better than what came before. Taeyang promised to spend every day being worthy of her choice to stay. And when they promised, kissed, the garden erupted in cheers. At the reception, Taeyang pulled her aside. I have something for you. Another ring? I'm running out of fingers. He laughed. Not a ring. He handed her a folder. Inside were documents. Legal documents. For a foundation. The Okafor Yoon Foundation for Trafficking Survivors. It's funded, he explained. Fully operational, You'd run it. Help survivors rebuild their lives. Everything you've been doing, but bigger. Official. Chioma's hands shook as she read. This is everything. You gave me purpose. Let me give you this. She threw her arms around him. Thank you. For this. For everything. For being exactly who I needed you to become. Thank you for seeing who I could be when I couldn't see it myself. They danced then. Chioma in her simple white dress. Taeyang in his suit, surrounded by everyone who mattered. The music played the song his mother wrote, the one about sunrise after darkness. And, as they moved together, Chioma thought about the journey. From the subway platform to here. From captor and captive to partners. From survival to purpose. It shouldn't have worked. By all logic, it should have been a tragedy. But somewhere between the kidnapping and the rescue, between the violence and the choice, between the darkness and the light, they'd found something real, something worth fighting for, something like hope. And that, besties, is their story. From a mistaken kidnapping in a night market to a wedding in a garden where cherry blossoms fell like snow. From the ruthless Mafia boss and the woman searching for her lost brother to partners building something that changed lives. Was it messy? Yes. Complicated? Absolutely. The kind of love that made sense in normal circumstances? Not even close. But it was real. And it was theirs. Chioma found Ibuka. Taeyang found redemption. And together, they found purpose. The Okafor Foundation freed over 3,000 people in its first 5 years, brought down 7 major trafficking operations, changed laws in 2 countries, all because a woman in the wrong place at the right time refused to be just a victim, and because a man in the wrong life at the right moment chose to be more than what he was raised to be. So besties, here's what I want you to remember. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things we never knew we needed. Sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the most beautiful transformations. And sometimes love grows in the darkest places and becomes the light that guides everyone home. Now tell me, besties, would you stay? Would you choose love born from chaos? Would you take the risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this story had you on the edge of your seat. Subscribe for more stories that make your heart race and your soul soar. And besties, thank you for watching both episodes, for going on this journey with Chioma and Taeyang, for believing that love can grow anywhere, even in the darkest soil. And remember, even the darkest night has to end eventually. Until next time, besties, stay safe out there, and maybe avoid night markets at 11:47 p.m. Unless you're ready for your life to change forever,